On this episode of It's Friday Somewhere, we are live in front of a studio audience to talk all things beer with esteemed guest Greg Avola, co-founder of Untapped. Before we begin, IFS would like to send out some very special thank yous. Adam Porter, thank you for hosting us at the Harrisburg Startup. The space was fantastic. Stouts and Stilettos.com, thank you for helping us out with the ticketing. We couldn't have done it without you. Jeff Kupko and Tierney, friends of the show, thank you for sitting in on the panel with us. And Greg Avola, thank you very much for traveling down from New York City to have a chat and drink some beers with us. Most importantly, we'd like to thank all the beer enthusiasts who attended and helped us raise money for Harrisburg River Rescue. We cannot thank you enough, and we had a great time. So, open your ears, crack some beers, because it's Friday somewhere.
Friday somewhere. Let's drink. Thank you. Usually we're cracking a
I
beer.
did that last night too.
And we're doing our first live event. First, I want to thank for all of our sponsors that we've had for this one. We do have a live audience here, and it's really great to do this. First, we want to thank Stouts and Stilettos for helping us put this together, and Harrisburg Beer Week. This was our first time working with them. A big thanks to Startup Harrisburg and to Adam Porter for hosting. Thanks to Al Kominski from Pizza Boy, who was able to provide us with 2 really great beers. So, guys, make sure you drink it all up because we don't want to lug it
The
back.
717's a half keg, so please keep drinking. I don't want to carry that thing out of here.
Yeah, we got to get that out. I went with the Taste the Struggle IPA, 7%. This is a really nice beer. Ed, what are you drinking?
I am also drinking the Taste of Struggle, and I love it. It's great. Pizza Boy. Al always does a great job, and hopefully we won't hear the struggle tonight. Also with us, Dave.
Hello?
Can you hear me all the way down there at the end of the table?
I can.
I feel like this is that Seinfeld episode where, like, did you hear Newman's dead? Yeah. So what are you drinking down there?
So I went with the 717. So if you guys don't know, this is a collaboration between Trogs, ABC, Pizza Boy, and 0 Day for the first time. And so they wanted to make a beer. 0 Day is a day when you're on a hiking, and specifically on the Appalachian Trail, where you say, I'm not going any miles. I'm going to go 0. It's a great place to hang out. So that's what they did. And Theo from 0 Day hiked the Appalachian Trail, and there's actually a place in Pine Grove where your job is to eat a half gallon of ice cream. And he did a cherry vanilla ice cream. And so he's like, let's make that a beer. They were talking about a story. How can we do something for Harrisburg? So they made this. It's a cream ale. It doesn't have corn in it, but it's cherries and vanilla. And I think it's delicious as it warms up. It's a little tart when you get it at first, but then it smooths out and gets nice and sweet at the end. And so Tierney from Stouts and Stilettos.
Hello.
What are
Hi.
you drinking?
Well, I just finished a Trogs Rugged Trail, which I brought with me because I wanted to drink a Rugged Trail today.
Road soda.
I am also drinking this struggle beer. What is it called?
Taste the
Taste
Struggle.
the Struggle. It's a struggle, literally.
Struggle to come up with the name.
Very, yeah. It's very aggressively hopped, and it's actually better than I thought it would be. I know that sounds terrible. I'm just not really into super overly hoppy beers myself, so I was a little apprehensive, but I think it's great. So,
Awesome.
Who else is here?
Yeah, you got to throw it to Jeff.
Oh, hey Jeff, what are you drinking?
So I'm also drinking the 717, and I definitely like this beer as you let it sit for a little bit. So we've actually had it in the pitchers, and pouring it out of the pitchers, I think, really opens it up a little bit as it warms. It makes it not quite as tart, opens it up a little bit. So I'm enjoying this year's version of it. And so then I get to introduce our star panelist.
I'm not sure if I'm the star panelist.
So our star panelist is
You
the
are
founder-
today.
the founder from Untapped, and I've actually had the pleasure of having a couple drinks with him a couple times in New York City through a mutual friend, and that's actually why I ended up joining the app back in November of 2010, which was like a month after launch or so.
You're an early adopter
Yes.
for sure.
So here you go, Greg.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for attending today. Happy to be here. This is my first time in Harrisburg, so it's very awesome to be here. We've been doing the Untapped badge for Harrisburg Beer Week for almost
All 4 years.
4 years, and I'm very jealous every time we put it into production. This is the first time I actually can get it, so I'm super excited about that. That's really great. So I'm also drinking the Taste of Struggle IPA. I've never had anything from Pizza Boy before, obviously being from the New York area. This is phenomenal. I'm a big hop head, so I love the pininess and the kind of stickiness of the beer itself. So really big fan of this. This is a great beer for me. So yeah.
Awesome. So, Greg, craft beer, a large portion of that segment is using Untapped to check in, to find beers, discover them. How'd you come upon the idea? Where were those early stages of development?
Yeah, so Untapped was a brainchild of myself and my co-founder, Tim Mather, who lives in California. And we had been friends for a very long time and loved to use Foursquare. So Foursquare was our way to kind of keep track of each other and kind of see what we're doing. But we always felt it was missing a piece. So, no one really cares, for lack of a better word, if you're at a supermarket or the post office, maybe to mock you that you're waiting in line for so long. But at the same time, when you're at a bar, we want to know exactly what you were drinking. We wanted to add more details to a check-in. So we thought of industries that were inherently social, and beer was the first one that we thought of. Because think about it, we're all doing it right now. We're all drinking. We're all talking with each other. Well, actually, I'm the only one talking right now, but you get the point. So what I'm trying to say is, we started off with the concept of making that online version of that social experience. And there are other providers out there that do similar things, but the main thing that we wanted to put at is the real time. And real time was what our kind of goal was. So we mixed the concepts of Foursquare, the goals of what drinking socially would be in a virtual world, and we put that together, and that's where Untapped kind of came together. So we kind of leveraged a lot of people's ideas and then used the kind of the craft beer revolution to kind of put this online app into production.
Nice. So are you a tech company, or are you a craft beer company? Are you both? And what does that mean?
We're kind of both. I would say, we don't make beer, obviously, although we've been confused many times that we do make beer, which maybe we should. But I think that the idea is we're taking technology and we're connecting them with people, trying to find them the right beer. So, believe it or not, when I first started Untapped back in 2010 in October, I really wasn't into beer. It's kind of a shock to most people when they heard that comment. I didn't know what I liked. And I think if anyone tells you they don't like beer, it's because they probably haven't had that beer before, or they haven't the right beer in their mind. So I used the app to kind of figure out exactly what beer I liked. And then from there, I said, if it works for me, it can work for all other people as well. So we have the technology in that aspect that we're actually connecting people together with beer and giving recommendations and stuff like that. But we're also kind of a craft beer app in a sense where we kind of promote kind of discovery. We want you to kind of get outside your comfort zone. If you like to drink the same beer over and over again, we're going to try to change you and get you outside and try different styles of beer. So we're kind of a mix of both when it comes to those situations.
Do you find that there's cultural differences between craft beer and tech sector? I mean, you're in both, so.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there's a lot of cultural differences. I mean, we have, at our office in North Carolina, we have like 4 taps. So culturally, it's great. So it's great to kind of have that experience. But I think when it comes to doing business, we look at our industry just like craft brewers do. They don't kind of go after each other and try to, cutthroat them in any shape or form. They work with each other. All breweries, value and cherish that community. And we do the same thing with our industry when it comes to the craft beer technology space. So, we're not out there trying to say that, that other app really sucks or something like that. It's not really what we're all about. We want to work together, kind of educate the consumer about where to find beers and where to go. That's really what our mission statement really is.
So at what point did you realize this went from a hobby to I'm going to be able to see where my friends are drinking beer to this is a full-time business and something that I can support my family with?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So we started Untapped October, like I mentioned. I remember telling my co-founder in the summer when we're doing some prototyping that I don't think anyone's going to use this app. Probably my mom and friends, and that's about it.
How many badges does your mom have?
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm not going to comment on that.
Jeez, Bill, what the hell?
It's a very personal question.
Right.
But, I will say this, back in 2010, we were asking users to voluntarily tell us they're drinking an alcoholic beverage somewhere. I mean, that was very foreign back then. Nowadays, people share a lot more things on the internet really easily. But back then, it was still a taboo kind of a thing. So from us, when we started back in 2010 to 2016, we were doing it part-time. So I really felt that the first time that we had something really important was back in early 2011 when Sam Adams contacted us, and they said they did a search for Untapped or their beer on Twitter, and they saw 25 posts of Untapped check-ins. And they said, what's this app? So from us, they contacted us. We did one of our first ever badges with them, and I thought for sure that maybe that would be the launching platform for us to do it full time. It didn't take another 4 or 5 years for that to actually happen, but I think at the same time, that was kind of our first kind of taste into the fact that this could be something real, and it's really kind of cool to be able to go on that path.
So Sam Adams reached out to you.
Yes.
What is that call or email like?
Well, first of all, I thought it was spam, so I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, this must be some of my friends just trying to prank me or something like that. But when we got on the phone, we kind of talked about it. We were really early on in the process. We didn't have a lot of users at all, but they had a lot of brand awareness. People were sharing a lot to Twitter, which was our biggest kind of ploy when we first started. And we actually were not even an app in the App Store when we first started the app. We were just a website. People could log in on their mobile phones. And it helped us get a lot of users because at the same time, we were able to get on a lot of devices. We supported, if anyone remembers, Palm Pre devices back in the old days. Wow. We supported that. BlackBerry 6s, we did it all. So we got a large range of users on board from day one, which helped us grow. But that email was very strange. I remember telling my co-founder, I'm like, is this legit? Like, is this real life? Like, Sam Adams emailing us, and they want to do something with us. I'm like, all right, cool. So we didn't have any pricing. We didn't have anything we did. We didn't even have a custom badge program. So we pretty much made it up on the fly. That first conversation, we're like, yeah, sure, no problem. You want to do that? No problem. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how to do that. So it was pretty intense. Pretty crazy.
Was it all Sam Adams beers, or just like Sam Adams Boston Lager?
It was for their Infinium release that they do.
I have that badge.
I have that badge as well.
Yeah, so that was the first ever custom badge. You did the Infinium badge, and it was to drink their Infinium beer, which was pretty awesome to even see that. But anyways, yeah, that was what the badge was for.
So when a brewery partners with you, what does that look like now?
Yeah, so we have a couple different options now. I mean, back then it was really only one. Now we have a couple different things. Number one, breweries can claim their own page on Untapped, which is great because it allows them to kind of connect with the users in a new way. So right now, if you're a brewery and you're not on Untapped and you want to know feedback about how a beer is, you have to go through focus groups or talk to friends that are unbiased, which is not why they're friends. So for us, it's a great way for them to log in and kind of communicate in real time with their customers and check in and see what they're rating and reviewing. So they can do that for free today, just claim their page. We also offer other things like custom badges, as I mentioned. Some of our bigger accounts like Founders have done a lot of badges. You probably have seen in the app for a lot of their product lines, which gives them an opportunity to kind of promote that on a new way. And it is an advertisement here. I'm not trying to hide behind that, but I'd rather earn that than see an ad for a coffee maker or something like that. That makes no sense to what you're trying to do, and it's kind of fun and engaging too. So, and then finally, we have our business suite of products for physical locations. You may have seen them around town, where users can actually they have digital boards and print menus and things of that nature that we kind of gone into the restaurant space for too. So there's a lot of different avenues now a brewery can get with our service.
All right, let's tilt this because we focused on you a lot. Tierney, glad we're going to bring you in here. You actually, we mentioned it, you have the Harrisburg Beer Week badge. You worked with Harrisburg Beer Week right from the beginning. This was like your baby, your brainchild. Why was it important for you to get that badge early on, and what has it done for you, and then partnering with Untapped?
For us, having the Harrisburg Beer Week badge made Harrisburg Beer Week legit. When we started Harrisburg Beer Week 4 years ago, I mean, everyone's on Untapped at this point. Everyone in this room there's 50 people in this room right now, and all of you use Untapped. That's why
we
you're
just
here.
got these guys on Twitter last night. I don't know. We got to
like you're all on Untapped. That's why you're here.
Show of hands. Who here is all Untapped?
Yeah,
wow.
all of you.
Everyone.
So you're all on Untapped, right? So when you check in a beer right now in the Harrisburg area during Harrisburg Beer Week, you get the badge and you're like, oh my gosh, Harrisburg Beer Week's happening. Whether you know about it or not, you now know. It tells you right away. So for us to have that badge, that was legit. That put us on the mark. Harrisburg Beer Week is real. And then it's a huge marketing thing for us. You know, unlocking that badge, people find out about it. It goes on the blog for Untapped, so anyone that follows their blog will say, oh, there's a beer week happening in Harrisburg. I should go to that. I should go to their website. Behind me here up on the screens, which you guys won't be able to hear on the podcast, but we have a bunch of social feeds from Twitter. Every time that someone unlocks that badge and has it set to push to Twitter, it puts hashtag Harrisburg Beer Week. So it's just pushing it everywhere so everyone knows and can see that it's happening.
I would like to say that I'm glad that me and Dave are cut out of that picture up there. I feel like that improves it tenfold.
Yeah, it's kind of bright in here. I know it's not really, it's kind of hard to see, but yeah, it made us feel legit. Like what we were doing was a real thing. And for us, they give us statistics. I can see it was like 2,600 people yesterday unlocked the badge on the first day of Beer Week.
Wow.
That's crazy. I can see, demographics of who are we reaching, who are these people that are unlocking the badge, and all that marketing information just makes it better for us for Beer Week.
2,600 on day one sounds like a lot.
2,600 on day one. I don't remember
For
what we did in
Harrisburg,
other years.
that sounds great.
Yeah, but it's really cool. So 2,600 people guaranteed know about Beer Week now.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Now we have Jeff here, and he is the original beer blogger for Harrisburg, I'm pretty sure, and
Yes.
even in the country. And he
OG.
travels all over the country for work, and he has a lot of beer knowledge. So how do you use Untapped when you're traveling across the country to either discover new places, new beer, new breweries?
Yeah, I use it a lot of times if, I'll search the local. You can search for local bars or local beers. If I know of a brewery, I can look in there and just see what they have on tap. But I certainly appreciate all the breweries or the bars that take handle of their restaurant, or the breweries that do it as well, and say, this is what we have on tap right now, because
That's
then
the
I
key
can
thing.
say, I don't need to try and find their website. I can just go through Untapped, find what they have on, and say, oh yeah, I want to go try that. The other cool thing too is, when you show up at a brewery and they have the feed up on the screen too, and you get to see your picture show up on the TV in the brewery. That's always a good one too.
It's kind of weird sometimes, but you're like,
It's
"Oh,
never
that's me,
weird.
bye-bye."
It's never weird.
I think the best one I had was I drank a beer called Is a Girl, and so it was like Jeff K is a girl, which is what showed up on the screen. So,
Sure it was.
but yeah, I find it absolutely a useful tool while I'm traveling, and kind of vital, just to being able to check out the local scene and getting that extra knowledge.
Now, as a social media / beer platform, do you guys feel competition from like an Instagram or a Snapchat where people are like, hey, I'm drinking this beer? Well, not me, because I'm too old to use Snapchat, but you just, do you feel pressure from that, or do you feel that you guys are kind of, streamlined to a point like you're reaching the audience that you want?
To be considered in the same sentence as Instagram and beer and Snapchat is good enough for me in that sentence.
I
there.
just heard about them yesterday, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's important about our app and also craft beer is that you always have to understand your market, understand what you're looking at from a local perspective. A lot of breweries have, the whole glow local kind of mentality where they're thinking about their local markets, but they're also thinking about how they're going to grow globally. We have the same concepts here. We really focus on local stuff. I'm in New York, so I'm doing a lot of events and New York stuff as well. And I just came back from the 7 Cities tour, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But at the same time, I think it's important for us to know what we're doing and know our limits. We're not going to go out there and compete with Instagram because we're going to lose badly, like really, really badly. They have a lot of users that use that stuff. It's incredible. So I think from our standpoint, we want to leverage those services. So we allow Instagram sharing now on the application, which is great. I'm also too old for Snapchat, so I have to ask my my nieces and nephews how to use
Liar.
that stuff. So, you know, I don't really understand. I think it's for, you know, those face changing things. I don't know. But no,
Face-changing things.
Yeah,
There
well,
you go.
You've had dog ears on your face.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's an important platform, and both have different needs and different and wants. But I think we're focused on what we can do. Any business that you run out there, you can only control what you can control. So I think it's really important to focus on your own product lines. We think it's really great, as opposed to competitors, stuff like that.
Now, Tierney, you have Snapface and all those other things on there, and the blog and all those things. How do you decide that what you want to share your craft beer journey with, you know, your friends and people who follow your blog?
What would Beyonce drink?
Glitter beer.
No.
Cardi beer.
We don't do glitter beer here. No.
Speak for yourselves. For me, it depends on who I'm trying to reach. If I'm just trying to tell my friends real quick that I'm having a beer, I'm probably going to send them a quick Snapchat. If I want them to know that, you know, Stouts and Stilettos has this collaboration beer and I want to show everybody, I'm going to put it on Instagram. I use an app that pushes it from Instagram to Twitter and Facebook, and I'm sending it everywhere. I want to try and reach as many people as possible. Personally, I feel like Facebook is dying. Facebook is where everyone goes to complain. That's literally all your feed is all day, is it not? So how am I supposed to cut through that to tell you something great about beer? Twitter is where everybody is. Instagram is where literally everyone is. The stories on Instagram, I've been utilizing those more now. I just try and reach as many people as I can in the most effective way that I can. Mostly through Twitter and Instagram at this point.
You brought up Facebook, and Facebook has a lot of problems. It's also got a lot of users, but the problems that it has have been all at the forefront recently. Greg, as a social media platform, when you see what's happened with Facebook and the issues that they're now facing, congressional hearings, those kinds of problems, what does that? How do you deal with that as a social media platform yourself?
Yeah, I mean, data transparency is very important to us, and my role as the CTO for the company, I have to, I'm no Mark Zuckerberg here, but I have to stand and own the whole process from start to finish. So, one of the problems with Facebook early on is I don't think they knew. I mean, obviously, Facebook is a big company, and they didn't really understand the breadth of what they were doing and what developers were doing. We've had an API from day one, and we've locked that thing down from the very beginning, only because it's very important to us to be transparent to users about how their data is being used and stuff like that. Your data is never sold to anyone. We're talking about demographic information earlier. It's all anonymized. All that stuff is kept very private and encrypted for you guys. So it's very important to have that kind of transparency for users, because you never want to show up on CNN for that situation at all. You want to be at the forefront of it. So, a lot of my discussions over the past couple of weeks with people have always been about how we store data and how it's important to us. So if you're transparent with their users, which we really try to do, I'll be a perfect example. Yesterday, we had a badge for Lagunitas, which is their Waldo's beer for 420, and there was a coding error. So we had a special bag for checking in on their Waldo's beer on 420 at 4:20 p.m. and there was
that's so cool.
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
I checked it in at 4:21. Yeah. You owe me a badge, motherfucker.
So the range was 4:19 to 4:31 that we kind of pushed them at, and there was a mistake. And we corrected the mistake a couple hours later, and we sent out emails to all the users that had got it, and we automatically added it to their badge. So transparency is very important to us. We are never going to be a company that sits on our laurels and tries to just, if somebody writes a post about it, then maybe we'll address it. We always want to address them ahead of steam. So it's very important to be that transparent with users on data.
I would like to say that, after watching Zuckerberg on Capitol Hill testify, I would love to see the senators ask you questions on how to use this app. I think that would be great.
That would probably be one of the moments in my life that I'll always remember of explaining how to check in a beer to a senator after hearing the comments from Mark, and I can hear what is going in the back of his head. Like,
the bar has been set pretty low.
That is for sure.
Did not go well.
No.
Now, Jeff, since you are out there for work a lot of times and you're doing trips, I do the same thing. I travel all over the country and have different beer. How concerned are you about sharing all that information that now it's out publicly? You're on a work trip and, I'm checking in a beer at 4:30 at a brewery in Columbus when I should be out there, looking at roads, that kind of thing.
In general, I mean, I've always been pretty public. I mean, I haven't locked too much of it down, but some of the things I have at least done a little more differently is really what translates into the Twitter feed and how much I post to that. So I don't have it auto post to Twitter anymore for my check-ins, just because I've had some, let's just say like clients or higher level people start following me on Twitter. So I have probably taken a little more recognition of that side of it. But as far as, you know, I'm friends with my bosses and things like that on Untapped, you know, we're connected. So I don't see that as too much of a problem. That all they care about is I get my job done, and however I do it, I do it.
His aunt was like, "This guy drinks a lot."
Funny story about that actually is that before I did Untapped full time back in 2016, I worked for ABC News in the city, and I had an interview with my boss at the time, and he just sat at his desk. And he was very quiet for a little bit, and that was very awkward for an interview. Usually you get right into it. And he turned his laptop around, and it was untapped on the screen. And he said, "Did you make this?" And I go, "Yeah, I was part of it, I guess." You know, he goes, "When can you start?" So I mean, in that situation, sharing is a good thing. But I definitely echo your statements from that situation. You know, you have to understand about what you're sharing and what's out there. It's not just Untapped; it's every network. So I think it's really important to understand what's going out there, what someone's seeing, and stuff like that. Google takes a lot of your data, and it can make things really great to you. Like, for example, if I have a hotel stay, it shows up on the map for me, and I can just see it, and that's really, really cool. But if you're concerned with privacy and that's something that you want to kind of block, you have the option to do it. You just have to be aware of what's out there, is my opinion.
We mentioned travel here. You just got done with the 7-city tour.
Yeah.
So you, oh God, I had it here somewhere. You went all over the place.
Charlotte, Cincinnati, Tampa, Chicago,
Thank you.
Anaheim, Portland, and New York.
And
Someone
all in
studied.
7 days.
Wow.
7 cities, 7 days.
Yeah, so I'm pretty tired still. I finished up on that on Tuesday of this past week. So the whole concept was in the month of March, we had a contest where users would check into verified venues. I mentioned before about business platform where we have digital displays and menus. Those are called verified venues in our app. So we had all the top 7 cities. They check in the most amount of beer. We would have events in those 7 cities in 7 days. So as you just heard, we had Charlotte on Wednesday. Thursday, we were in Cincinnati at Mad Tree Brewing. On Friday, we're at Tampa at Cigar City. Saturday, Goose Island. Sunday, Anaheim, California with Bottle Logic. Monday, we're in Portland, Oregon at Great Notion. And Tuesday, back in New York, other app. And then Wednesday, I died, and I came back to life. It was incredible. There was about 8,000 miles of plane rides, around 1,200 per day on average. We did around, I think, obviously there were 7 cities involved. There were 13 flights that I took for connections and stuff like that. So
Did you say 1,200 per day?
1,200 per day average.
I won't drive 3 miles for like a Gatorade.
It was pretty epic. And I think that the goal of this event was to kind of embrace the community, get to know them, show them that there is a face behind the app. I really believe in being personable with these type of things. So I think it's really important to get to know our community. We do a lot of our feature requests from users. We think it's a really important piece to use their feedback to make the app better. I mean, I'm a user as well, but I'm also biased because I've been staring at the same line of code for like 8 years. So, we want to hear feedback from new, existing, and middle. So that's why it's so important to meet them and talk about some of the issues they're having, and even kind of give away some free stuff that we're giving away through the tour. So it was really, really cool. Very tiring. I wish I had more time in a lot of the cities, but it was a lot of fun.
I have a question related to that.
Sure.
Though. Like, did you compare during that same time period say other top cities and to kind of compare how the verified venue really helped some cities that may not have even cracked, say, a top 20 or
I mean,
like that?
When we did the planning for this event, I would say there's probably 3 cities in that list that I would never expect it to be in there. I mean, our top cities are typically New York City, Chicago, Philadelphia, Boston, those type of big metro cities. But, see Anaheim, California out there, Cincinnati as well, even Charlotte kind of surprised me, and Tampa, Florida. Those were kind of the byproducts of some of the people coming in because they wanted to have these events here. So they would travel from out of town and kind of check into those places to kind of incur. So it's a really big bonus to the verified venues. In addition, there were also a lot of beer weeks that happened. For example, there was an event in Anaheim for Bottle Logic, their Week of Logic series, which is their anniversary events that obviously pushed their check-ins up a lot. And there were other ones as well. But I think that the value of the verified venues forced people to go to places that they maybe not have gone before, and it kind of created this great ecosystem to give back to local places, and pretty awesome thing.
You are a bi-coastal company, though, so travel is part of your repertoire for work, right?
It is, yeah.
You have a headquarters in New York. You have a headquarters in LA. What's that? Is being bi-coastal difficult beyond just the time change? Is there cultural issues that you have to work through as a tech company?
Not really. I think one of the beauties of tech is that you have so many tools that allow you to kind of communicate. I mean, we use Slack pretty much, and if you haven't used Slack
Love
before,
Slack.
you should be using Slack. I mean, it's one of the most powerful tools that we use for communication across coast. We also have our main headquarters in Wilmington, North Carolina, and so I travel down there quite oftenly, and I think in this day and age, the difference by coastal doesn't really have any effect per se on performance and productivity, because we all have smartphones and we all have Slack, we get notifications, so you're always kind of on there. But before that, you'd be sending an email to someone and like hoping that they would see it. You wouldn't know if they're seeing it or they're online. Slack is without that, we would not be able to operate at the same efficiency that we have today, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so you did, was it 7 cities?
7 cities.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Harrisburg's now 8.
Yes.
All right.
The 7 states extension.
Obviously, number one, Harrisburg excluded. What was your favorite place to go to? Or what would you say would be like your most enlightening experience?
So, I'd been to a lot of those places before, awesome places, but I've never been to like Cincinnati and Tampa, and I got a chance to go a lot of places in Cincinnati, and it really blew me away of the quality of beer that they're producing there. I mean, people from the East Coast, like myself and you guys here, like we don't think of Cincinnati as a place for
Visiting.
For beer. Yeah, exactly.
Anything.
I think of the Reds, which
Sorry
are
for
horrible at
Cincinnati,
baseball, and I'm sorry to hear that. And they have the Bengals, which I guess they're a
Who
football
cares
team.
about them?
But I
Oh,
think
boy.
when it
It's
comes
gonna
down
get ugly.
to it, I think what I was really blown away by the number of breweries in that town, but just the space. I mean, I'm from New York City, so space is always see a premium. But they had at Mad Tree almost a huge campus of brewing, and they were growing it even more. So I was really surprised by that. Anaheim was another one too, because Anaheim is known for one thing to people on the East Coast is Disneyland. It's not for breweries, and they have some great ones out there as well. Bottle Logic, the brewery is great as well. So I was very surprised by those two when I was visiting out there, but they were all great. I mean, people that we met are fantastic. The users is what we kind of really moved to. I tell this story because it's kind of a little bit pompous, but whatever. I signed my first autograph on this tour. This is the most crazy thing ever.
That's so cool.
I have never signed an autograph before. I didn't even know what to do. I'm like, do I write like love, Greg? I don't know what.
So if we get you to sign like 5 autographs, will Harrisburg move above Cincinnati? That's all we want.
No
Can
question
we move
about
above
that.
Cincinnati?
Yeah, this guy had bought. We sell a metal tin for Untapped in the store, and you can hang it on the wall or something. And he had bought it for the event, and he came over and he said, "Do you mind signing it?" And I honestly laughed at him. I'm like, yeah. Who are you looking for? Not me, because I don't know why you want my signature or anything. He goes, "No, I want your signature." I was like, all right. He pulls out a Sharpie. He was well prepared for this. He knew what was going to go down. So got the Sharpie, signed it. Again, I didn't really know what to do. So like, what should I say? Did I make it like, "Dear your name, love Greg"? I put cheers, and I signed my name. He goes, "This is fantastic." And then he told me a crazy story, not to diverge here, but he was actually over in Israel, and he was checking in beers, and there was a terrorist attack that occurred on there, and his mother actually checked Untapped to know he was okay, which is the craziest story. I just took the mood from this all the way down to here, back up to here.
Okay, shut it down. We're done. No.
But so one of the two amazing things happened there. I signed an autograph, and then someone used Untapped to let someone know they're safe. I mean, I just mic dropped at that point, and I was like, all right,
If I was in the
I'm
middle
going
of a
home.
terrorist attack, I'd be
Feel
here.
free to throw that one over your shoulder. We don't care.
Forget using Facebook marked as safe. Just check in another beer.
If he's still drinking, he's all right.
It was incredible.
Earthquake? Nope. He's still drunk. It's okay.
He checked into Natty Ice. This is this is a call for help.
Exactly.
He's on his last reserves. We got to save him.
Oh my God, guys.
Now, do you get any gifts or anything? Like Bottle Logic, Fundamental Observations is like one of the best beers on the planet. Do they give you stuff at each brewery as a gift to take home with you?
Well, the problem was I was traveling without a checked bag, so I couldn't really take too much along with me. I did get a couple of growlers that I enjoyed at the hotel or things of that nature. But to be honest with you, we weren't really looking for any of those type of gifts. It was more about meeting people and giveaways. We're giving away keychains and koozies and stuff like that. It's really important for us from a community perspective. But the breweries, I would say, I don't think they 100% knew what they were getting into when I emailed them and said that we're doing the 7-day tour. I mean, we had lines that were out the door at some of these places, and I felt kind of really bad. I'm like, it's not even for me. Your beer is just really, really good, you know? So I think, you know, it's really cool to kind of get them involved, the process, see the value of the platform and those type of things.
Like I said, that's a rookie move because I have a suitcase. It's on wheels, and you can have a cooler, and they have 12 bottles in there. So
Hey, I gotta
Yeah,
get
we
that
talked
suitcase.
about this, Ted DiBiase.
If you need travel tips for
Yes,
beer, let us know.
Well, I definitely will need to. I'll tell you that if one of these flights that I was traveling got delayed even like an hour, there would be no 7-city tour. So literally, like, I was back to back on everything. I was actually so nervous. The last trip, I was flying back from Portland to New York, and I had about an hour before the event started when I landed in LaGuardia. So
Oh my God.
if anyone's flown in LaGuardia, you know that is a gutsy move for the delay and stuff like that. So I was lucky it all worked out, but literally a delay of anything would have kind of screwed it over.
Right. Turning back to the app itself and what Untappd does, do you internally identify trends in craft beer, and then do you work to share that data with the breweries? Now, you said everything's anonymous and that you're not sharing private data, but you've got to be able to identify some pretty interesting trends.
Yeah, we're able to identify seasonal trends. That's probably my favorite topic to discuss. Is like, you know, a lot of people say, you know, when do Oktoberfest beers actually become popular? And we're able to say, oh, you know, and actually it's the end of July, you know, that we started seeing a lot more check-ins from there
Fake
into
news.
seasonal creep, as I like to call it. But yeah, we do a lot of analysis there to kind of see trends. We'll see about porters and stouts being consumed in the summertime versus the winter. You know, pumpkin beer was a really cool thing that we did once. So finding out when pumpkin beers are actually consumed, which means when
All
are
the
the
time.
pumpkins are actually made, because they're not in the summertime. So
I'm
what's
pretty
going
sure
on
Southern
there?
Tier is coming out next week already.
Yeah, probably. You know, so we do a lot of that
If
data.
you guys want to stick around for another 2 hours, we have a pumpkin beer podcast coming up after this.
I will
I
not be
hope I'm
part of that.
invited.
Yeah,
I don't do pumpkin beer.
We don't share at this point data like of that nature with the breweries. We are thinking about that for the future. A lot of times it's a kind of a Pandora's box in a situation where the data we think is so valuable, it's just how to present it in a way that makes sense. You can't just dump a CSV file on someone's desk that works in the brewing industry and expect them to understand it. It's a matter of kind of manipulating it to make it worthwhile. We've done some of the badge pages, so you can see analytics for custom badges to see more demographic information. But on the brewing industry, it's not just one badge, it's across the country. What we're really kind of focused on now from a data perspective is building what we call a distribution map of a beer. So one of the biggest problem recommendations is the fact that you don't have a lat long or a longitude latitude for a particular beer, like a venue, for example. Like a Yelp and Foursquare can review and recommend stuff because they know that you're nearby that location. But with beer, it's not distributed evenly across the United States. So like this beer, Pizza Boy, is a great beer IPA. I would love to try that, but I'm not anywhere near its distribution map. So we have used the data from Untappd to build internally a map that helps power our recommendations. That gives you beer that actually is available in your area. Because if you like IPAs and we keep recommending you Planet of the Yell there, you're going to get pissed off at us. So we don't want that to happen. So we want to really focus this distribution map on top of that to make it more worthwhile.
So
when it comes
when
to
I
that.
step off the plane in Atlanta and I hit Untappd and I go, here's my location.
Yes.
It's like, here's where you can get the best beer around you.
Exactly. So we location is a big part of what we do, and it wasn't easy because, you know, when we first started doing this process, you know, we didn't have enough data to make it worthwhile. But as we've grown over time, it makes it a lot more effective for recommendations based on locale, for sure.
Nice. So when you're seeing these trends internally, like, I know Dave's going to talk about this. It's Northeast IPAs. Like, everyone's talking about Northeast
here we
IPAs.
go.
Go ahead, T.
We really can't have one podcast where we don't talk about Northeast
Well,
IPAs.
That's a double negative T.
like it really just can't happen. I really wasn't going to talk about Northeast IPAs.
Well, of
today.
course we're
Here
going to talk
are.
about that.
Here we are.
And Dave's pouring beer, so I'm going to take the moment to jump in here with them. You know, they've taken on a life of their own, and it seems like so much of that style is connected to social media.
Yes.
Instagram, the can releases, everyone's jumping into it. What trends have you seen about it, or do you have anything thoughts about it?
Yeah, so the official style we have on tap is New England style IPA. That's the official, like, from the BHVP of what it actually is. But what we see is this style has been around for a longer time, but it's just gotten really popular because, in my experience, the haziness of the IPA can go down two routes. If you really like IPAs and you like hoppiness, you're going to try it because it's really good. But if you don't like hoppy, it's very juicy. So the bitterness is not there. So you get both those drinkers that are across the board. So my wife is a very big cider and a sour person. She doesn't like hops, but she will drink a New England style IPA because it tastes more juicy. So now you're branching your market off of people who just like IPAs because they're hoppy to more kind of juicier style stuff. So for me, that we saw that influx pretty significantly. We actually didn't even have a style on tap for it. We had a vote on it internally, and we added it probably about, I would say, a month ago. And we're seeing this huge rampant success. Usually it's only in the Northeast, but I was over in Portland last week, and they have a New England style IPA out in Portland. So you can see that the trends are shifting all over the country. IPAs sell; they're the most popular brand, but now you've added another avenue of it, and it's just a big one for the brewery for sure.
So how do you guys come up, how do you decide, well, this is a style that we're going to acknowledge? You just get in a room together and go, all right, we're going to do it?
So we have a moderator group on Untapped, around 90 moderators all around the world that volunteer to merge and edit things, which is really cool.
Oh, I need to talk to them.
Yeah,
Yes.
I got to jump in on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to talk to them.
Would you like to have 91?
So absolutely, more the merrier. I think, shout out to them for all the hard work they put together. But I think the key thing is every quarter we do what we call a style guide review, where we actually allow the moderators to suggest styles that we don't have that we should have, and then we vote on them all internally, and that's how we're going to add new styles to our system. So I don't vote. I stay unbiased in this opinion because I want the community to actually go through this process, but that's how we add new styles and stuff like the system.
Cool.
Can I nominate a Harrisburg IPA? Is that what's
All right. Well, speaking of Harrisburg IPAs,
It's made with river water. I'm just telling you.
all
All right,
I was
all
gonna
right.
say, like, is it murky like the river?
Not as murky, but murky.
yeah, downright swampy. No, thank you. So, speaking of Harrisburg beers, we were switching it up here. I got a 717 collab from 2018, and a couple of other guys picked that up. Now, we started with Taste the Struggle. I got to tell you, this beer, as it warms up, it really does open up, and it's pretty good. It's sweeter than I generally like my beers to be, but this works for me. A lot of cherries. I wish the vanilla had shown up a little bit more, but I really like it. Ed?
I really like it. It's sweeter than I normally care for a beer to be. So right off the bat, I'm a little bit behind the wind there, but I think as it warms up, it's a little more subtle and it gets more subdued, and you can taste a little bit more of the vanilla and the flavors behind it. So I think it's pretty good. And what I respect about it is a step kind of out of bounds from what the 717 has been in past years. So I kind of respect where they're going with that. Really like it. Dave.
I switched to the Pizza Boy, and thanks again to Al. He just said, "Come in and pick any keg you want out of the fridge." So Bill picked it up, but it's definitely got a lot of hops to it. So I'm just getting into it. So I appreciate it with Al.
Yeah.
Jeff, are you?
I'm on the same one, and definitely enjoying this. Very juicy of an IPA, so
Yeah.
not much to struggle.
I see a lot of empty glasses out there, so
Yeah,
like you guys need.
We
to
can
get on
take a
these
minute
beers.
if you guys all want to go refresh. We can do that. That'd be great. Mm.
Yeah, we're gonna take 5 minutes. Everyone's gonna get some more beer because
Very cool.
I am not taking these kegs home.
Yeah, don't make me lift a keg.
Oh God.
Ed might hurt himself.
Or that could be the post-game show. Just watch Ed try to lift a
Keg
keg.
Olympics.
All right, does everyone have a fresh beer? Or a semi-fresh beer?
Oh my God, this is so
Good enough. All right. Bill,
Semi-fresh.
let's go.
All right. So, Greg, one of the things I think that is both unique and interesting about Untapped are the badges. We talk about the badges a lot, but do you believe that the Untapped badges have like gamified craft beer, or?
Well, I think it definitely has. I mean, gamification is a really important part of any application, not whether it's beer or not. I think Foursquare kind of pioneered the badge system in the early days, and we kind of just leveraged off of it. But I think that the main purpose of our badges is to get you outside your comfort zone and try different things. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain why a badge is so important and why it is, but the best analogy I have is that if you're at a carnival and you see some guy or girl with that giant panda walking out of the carnival, you don't know why you want it, but you just want that panda. And that's kind of what badges are all like, is that you don't know why you want it, but you definitely want it to brag to your friends. And I think it's a great way to kind of gamify it, but also get you out of your comfort zone and try different things across the board. So that's kind of what we believe the badges are meant to do.
Now, I'll be the jerk. Sorry, Dave.
I'm going to ask the same question.
Sorry
Go
to
ahead.
step on you. Yeah. Are there too many badges now? It seems
Somebody's
like,
got to ask this question.
Yeah,
every time I
no,
go somewhere.
you knew it was coming, and I'll
I
fall
think
on
Ed
my
just got
sword.
8 badges for checking in that 7.
I literally got I got 12 for a Miller Lite the other day because I was in Maryland. No, it's when and Jeff can attest to this. When we first started, it was like getting a badge was like we used to text back and forth like, "Hey, I got this badge," and I was blackout drunk in Denver, Colorado, going to some bar just to get the West Coast stupid badge. Yes, and I was like, "Oh, damn it!" Yeah, and I'm like, "All right, yeah, finally I got it." But now it seems like you're getting badges for just any check-in. So I mean, what's the strategy behind that? I guess is my question.
Yeah, so the concept was that we wanted to. We always want to make badges exciting and exactly that same experience where you get one and you really want it. The problem was we got a lot of max levels, so you can basically max out your levels at 10. That we used to have it, now we have it 100. People wanted more different things. So, for example, different country badges that popped up. I think those are pretty cool. People love to earn those. But then we get some negative stuff. So, we have our middle of the road badge, which everyone in the world pretty much hates because every 5 beers you drink a regular beer, you get a badge, and no one likes that. And then we also have things for the serving styles that we have for like the can badges or the Draft King badges and things of that nature. So, it's a constant struggle to figure out exactly what that line is because we get requests every day for adding more badges. So we're always like, well, we don't really know exactly what the users are actually enjoying because they always tell us, yes, we want it, but then we don't want it, which led us down a path of about 3 releases ago. We added retroactive badges to the system. So you can go into your settings and turn them on, and you can earn the badges from when you started it instead of when the badges got released. Now, anytime you have a problem like that in your business where someone's complaining about a digital achievement badge, they didn't get it when they first joined, you got a pretty good app. I mean, at least you pat yourself on the back. Everything's working out for you, right? So I think that allowed us to, people that got badges for things they've had a million times before, it got them to max that out and then also encourage them to try newer ones. So I'm not sure what the right answer to that is. I think we're going to continue to survey and see what people want to do. We still have a voting page up where you can vote for badges to be added to the system, and we continue to use that. But we have been taking a less proactive look at badges and had not done a new core badge set since January of this past year, just kind of see the temperature of the market. And we don't want to, flood them. That's a key thing. We don't want them to become useful, not non-useful for that situation. So it's always an important part to look at and see what makes most sense.
Can I get a badge if I don't drink between Sunday and Wednesday? And it's Untapped is congrats, buddy. Can we do that? Encourage me to not drink during the week?
So you're telling me that I should make a badge to encourage people to use my app less?
It should be called the Holding Down the Job badge. That should...
Well, we've had requests from
the 9 to 5 badge. Thank you.
The women who are pregnant and they want to be able to have 8 months between their last check-in and before, which I like a lot. But also,
I co-sign that 100%.
Do you know that would basically make men want to not check in for 9 months just because they want to earn this badge? Which I don't know.
I actually, one of the Harrisburg Beer Week founders, she stopped checking in on Untapped, and I said, "Are you pregnant?" And she was.
We've heard so many stories.
That's the easiest way to out yourself. Yeah.
We've heard so many stories about that, about pregnancies that they're waiting to announce, and there's they haven't checked in on Untapped in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. They check in every single day. Something's up. Either their phone is stolen or they're pregnant. So there's the two choices there. It happens more than you think, actually.
Okay, one of the questions I have, you talked about how great it is to expand the beer styles, and Untapped just kind of changed the culture. One of the things that a lot of brewers are not happy with, they say sometimes you had ruined craft beer because consumers only want to try something new so they can get a new beer, a new badge, new check-in. What do you say to the brewers when they say something like that about your app?
I say haters gonna hate, but that's just the way. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But I think
because they ain't us.
I think what we try to do is there are a lot of badges trying new things, but there are also a lot of badges trying the same stuff. So we have a lot of style-based badges you can still earn by checking into beers that you had before if you haven't enabled retroactive badges. So there's a lot of things at play that you can actually do. our goal is not to, our goal was to disrupt the beer industry. And I think we've accomplished that, and we're continuing to accomplish that. We don't want to shut any brewery out. We want to give them the raw feedback and the raw experience that they can't get anywhere else. I mean, people are voluntarily rating and discovering their beer, and to be able to connect with them on a different level is an amazing feature for them to have. So, yeah, we're not looking to ruin craft beer. We love craft beer. We love beer in general. So we want to educate people more about it and give people more exposure about what is available out there. Instead of, there are people out there that will go out there and seek out to, we had one person, sorry to diversion again, but we had one person in Cincinnati that had 999 unique beers and waited 2 weeks for the actual event to check in a unique beer just to earn the badge at the 7-City Tour
There's
event in
somebody on this
Cincinnati.
panel who has done that twice to
So,
get
I mean,
a badge.
This happens out there. And
I wasn't going to name you, Tierney, but yes, that did happen.
This does happen, but I think, again, we are getting the excitement about the community and want to be able to log it and recover it and stuff like that. So that's really important, and we want to flourish that as opposed to being, a negative light in that aspect.
I got one other a complaint that I personally have is, so we have an event here. We have 50
complaint.
people.
Wow, jeez.
I didn't know this
50
was
people.
This isn't
Too, man.
TripAdvisor Airport Dave.
Turned
Yeah,
into a
and now we're
bitch
on
session
Facebook.
really quick.
We made him leave the pitchfork.
Spirit
outside.
Airline blows. We know. Whatever.
So we got 50 people here having 2 different beers. Jeff is actually, unfortunately, moving to Columbus for a job, but he had an entire vertical of East End gratitude, so from 2005 to 2018. So we had all the different ones. But if you have 12 people having 24 beers, that's 288 check-ins that are now on someone's feed. Have you ever thought about, hey, how do I limit that? I don't want my users not to use my app because that's all they're going to see is somebody's bottle share. Do you have any solutions for that, like an event-based check-in so it's not clogging up people's feeds?
Yeah, it definitely is a common question that we have on people, tasters, even at festivals, the same thing there. And we're definitely working on some different things to make that kind of condensed or privatized check-ins so they don't show up on your feed, but they still actually count for all your metrics and stuff like that. That's something we worked on. I've been working on a lot for specifically flights too. So people we see it all the time. They get a flight, and they upload the same photo 4 times, and it shows up in your feed like 4 different times. And you're like, either they were really drunk and forgot what they were drinking, or they just So we're definitely
come
looking
on, that never happens.
Yeah,
No.
they were looking at ways to actually make that experience better, because we don't want. There is a scroll mechanism in this day and age. Everyone just scrolls through a lot of stuff, and we don't want them to become, numb to those activities if it's the same person over and over again. So we're definitely working on ways to condense those stuff together.
I have a question for Dave. Is it unfortunate that Jeff is moving, or that he's moving to Columbus? You did not make that.
And nobody likes Ohio. Right?
Well,
Hey,
says a Pittsburgh guy.
we had a great question from the audience for you, Greg. As a social media marketer for a brewery, we have an Untapped badge. What creative ways have you seen this be marketed or leveraged to get people in the door?
Yeah, so I'm assuming it's one of our local badges, which are for our verified venues. It really is a driver because it shows up on the app when you first launch it. There'll be nearby local badges you can earn, so you automatically are aware of things that are happening in your local area. And it's really meant for you to go out there and actually attend this go to this venue. So you're actually getting a lot of exposure from that perspective of being able to say, hey, we have a badge and nobody else does. It's kind of more of a bragging rights thing, but also gets people in the door because it's not just one badge, levels to 100. So it's really cool for local badges to be able to do that from that avenue. So it's definitely a great feature for verified venues, but it also brings foot traffic in the door because it's another thing. We're just talking about badges here because everyone wants to collect more badges like Pokemon. Which I have heard people make that analogy before. So
Gotta
it's not
collect them all.
foreign.
Gotta collect them all.
He just keeps speaking to me repeatedly.
Yeah.
Like, I love Pokemon. This is
Pokemon
going really
Brew.
well for me.
I like
So back to the ratings issue. Do you ever have breweries who come to you and say, look, my rating's low, this is a problem for me, or complaints about the rating system in general?
Not necessarily the rating system as a whole. I think we get a lot of calls from breweries that are concerned after they moved beyond the initial phase of their brewery. And what I mean by that is, they start up their brewery and 6 months. It's usually all friends and family that are checking in their beers. And then once they start expanding outside of their normal range, that's when the rating starts to dip. And they're always concerned that, oh, well, Untapped is flaming us or something like that. That's not the case. It's just that you're expanding outside your normal use case of friends and family and people that have never heard of you before. So it gives you an opportunity to say, look, we have a really strong brand within our local market, but now we have to focus more on a larger one. So it's not necessarily about that. I will say we've had issues of breweries with responding in different ways to different check-ins. And I'm sure you all have heard the story, so I'll leave it at that. But I think really what is important to note is that you as a brewery speak for your own brewery. So when you respond to users that checked into your beer, you have a great line of communication with them. So if someone gives you a half-star rating and you want to respond to them, you can get some pretty valuable feedback. We've heard great stories from breweries saying, hey, there was a beer that was on draft at this location, and everyone else said it was really, really good. Then one day, everyone said it was really bad. What happened? Well, it turns out that didn't clear the draft lines. They had a sour beer before that, and it kind of ruined the whole taste of it. So, there are some very positive things that can happen from these reviews and ratings that a lot of breweries take advantage of, and we encourage more to take advantage of that situation.
I got a question from the audience, and I kind of agree with this question. Is there any chance in the future they're going to change the rating we can do by decimal points or by tenths? Like Barstool Pizza reviews, he's eating, my 6-year-old walks up, it's like, oh, this pizza's a 7.8, instead of having those half and quarters in there.
Yeah, so just a brief history
That
on
kid
the ratings
loves
of
pizza.
Untapped. We actually had, when we first started back in 2010, we had no ratings. And we moved to 1 to 5, which were just whole numbers.
Which
Then we
was
moved to half-star
awesome.
ratings.
Awesome.
Then we moved to quarter-star ratings.
Man,
and we
that's
get this
awesome.
request probably, I would say, once every month. And I think that what we've discovered in our rating progress here is if you add more detail to a rating, we find that most people don't know the difference between a 4.7 and a 4.8, so they don't rate it, which is odd to us in our research, is that we found that if there's more complex options to rate something, they do not choose to engage in that rating, which we don't want to do. We're actively looking at different ways to kind of expose rating on a different level. For example, rating based on taste, color, aroma, things that are more detail-oriented with kind of our more pro users, as we call them. But you have to understand the gamut of the users that we have on Tap. We have people that are really big into beer and ones that are just starting out. So if you're just starting out and trying to review a beer you're not really sure 100% about, and you have to assume between a 4.78 and a 4.79, you probably just be like, never mind, I won't rate it. And that's what we saw a lot with our research. So we're definitely looking at ways to increase ratings in a different light. But I don't think, and hopefully whoever asked this question, I don't know if there are feelings, but I don't think we're going to be moving lower to 10th rating based on that experience. But who knows? Tomorrow we might. I don't know.
So I have something that kind of goes with this. I think a lot of people struggle with the rating system because they don't know what anything should be. So, like, I have friends that will, anytime they try a beer that they like it, that they want to drink again, it's a 4. Well, that's a 4 to you, but that's not a 4 to anyone else. So I think, do you think that people are really obsessed with the ratings, or are more people using it the way that I do to more keep track of what I've had and my own personal record? It's not about the ratings. Do you think it's more or both, or?
Well, we did a poll recently about what ratings are used for, and we saw predominantly people said they use ratings for themselves and not to share with their friends. So, for example, if I checked in this beer here, I like this, I gave it a 4, it's great, but I didn't rate that to tell my friends that that's what I think rating it against other beers in the set. That's not my way of rating it. And I think that perception itself is what we have to kind of educate users about and make it easier to understand so that breweries don't look at it from a negative perspective on that front when it comes to, for ratings and whatnot.
Fits into the, I hate wheat beers, 1.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something like that.
Well,
and that's how you rate it.
Yeah, I think that the key thing here is that if you don't like a style that you try to drink it, don't rate it. I mean, there's no point in putting a quarter-star rating for something that you knew you weren't going to like when you initially bought it. That's kind of my recommendation from that perspective.
All right, we're going to take one from the audience because we ran out of cards, apparently. Go ahead.
A live question.
Oh, man.
We're
I'm
going
really
we're going
nervous
strange
right now.
places
Mr.
here, folks.
President-elect.
I'm from New England, so this guy's wearing an Eagles jersey right now, so I'm very upset.
Oh, whoa! Wow.
Oh, my God.
That's amazing. So this guy
I'm an
has
Atlanta
Eagles
fan, so you can
tattoo
all
with
screw up. I don't care.
the
And
Super
that
Bowl.
had a Vince Lombardi trophy in
Don't-
its claws, too, unfortunately. As I'm a Patriot fan, so that's the worst thing I've ever seen.
So, in regard, you said it a couple times in regards to educating the audience a little more. What are some of the steps that you plan on taking to educate the audience more? Because I think it's two-part. It's people that don't know enough about something, or it's also misclassification. Like if you just generalize something as an IPA, is it a West Coast IPA? Is it a Northeast IPA? Is it New England IPA? Is it American IPA? What kind of IPA is it? Is it double hopped? Is it dry hopped? Is it wet hopped? You know, people don't know enough. And so, you know, how are you going to educate? And the second part of that is there any way to structure the knowledge or experience of one to categorize them so you can give it more of a algorithm to the weighting of the rating?
Yeah, so the key thing they're trying to do at education is about 2 years ago, we added something called the style guide to Untappd. So if you go actually on the style, you can tap it, see a description, see similar beers you've had of that style and ones in your local area you haven't had. So I hope that helps people get, words are one thing, but, if I tell a beer drinker what an IPA is supposed to taste like, they're going to be like, okay, cool. Now what is an IPA? What an example of one? That's why we added the 2 features, tell you what you've had and what's out there already that you haven't tried. So that's one avenue, and we've definitely heard the other piece about being able to weight people that have a higher education in the beer field over the other ones. The thing that I struggle with, personally, is that I've always believed that every vote, every rating from everyone counts the same, because we all have our own opinions on it. We don't want to create an elitist group about people that think that they can influence ratings and stuff like that. We don't want to get down that path, but we have heard of requests for things like, if you're a Cicerone, for example, you can enter in that information into Untappd, get a special kind of swash on your account. People know that when you rate a beer, you're rating it based on the Cicerone style or effect. So we're definitely
almost like that Twitter blue check mark.
Yeah, like a verified user in a sense like that. So we've definitely experimenting with those things and seeing what works. But I really firmly believe that every rating is valid, but I think we continue to educate users with those style guides, continue to educate users with knowing about the description of the beer, about things like dry hop, double dry hop, things of that nature, and hopefully that will get in people's heads about what's happening. But you have to understand the gamut of users that use Untappd. Not every user is going to even care enough from that perspective, but they should be given the option to explore them if they want.
Somebody actually just asked that question: is if you considered giving verified people that are certified or beer blogger, Jeff and Tierney, that people respect their opinion about beer, giving them maybe even a check mark, but also even on feeds. Hey, they're on the top of the feed. They they're having these different beers.
And
so
before you answer, understand that the people that are on this podcast, we're really passionate about this stuff, and the people that listen to this podcast, they're even better because they're the best of our beer drinkers, right? Absolutely. And the hoi polloi out there, and I had to use that word because I love using it on this podcast. That drink beer and you're checking in a Pliny the Elder and give it 2 stars, and you're like,
it has happened.
Yeah, what is wrong with you, right?
Yeah.
So I understand every vote counts, but it would be okay to weigh the ratings, right?
Yeah, I mean, I firmly believe that our top-rated beers on Untappd are weighted against every other beer in the commercial set. So, for example, the beer rating you see on the page right now is a pure average of every one that's happened. But we have a top-rated section where every beer is weighted against each other and therefore gets a more accurate rating about what are our top beers. For example, if you have a beer that has had 10 check-ins from 10 different people that are all friends of the brewers, they shouldn't be on the top list. So they should actually be weighted against everybody else out there. So we're always looking to improve our rating system and make it better. I think that, we're not shutting any door on there, but I think the verified idea is a really cool way to kind of segregate those together.
All right, we're going to switch this up. We're going to talk a little bit more about the broader, social media area. Tierney, you blog. Jeff, you used to. I blog. Is blogging dead? Is writing about beer on a blog, is it over, T?
I don't think it's over. I mean,
Someone
someone in the
said
crowd
yes.
says yes.
Yes.
A lot of people think
His
it's
name
dead.
is Tim, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's completely dead because it serves as a reference. People want to look for things. They want to know about things. If you can't get live information, you want to find it somewhere. I mean, somehow Beer Advocate forums still function, so if they are still existing and we're still using that as a reference, I think blogs as a reference is important. As I'm sure you'll all see if you look on my website, I have not updated it much recently. But if you look at my social feeds, you will see that I update that constantly. For me, blogging was always about interacting with other people and sharing my experiences with them, and social media is a better way to do that than blogging at this point. I don't think it's dead. I don't think it's over. People are still reading things and talking about what they read online, but for me, it's more of like a reference at this point than the way that I used to use it to communicate and share experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I'd build on that, but I would say that it is kind of dying. I mean, probably, without
Dying
with
but
a
not
few,
dead currently.
Yeah, with a few exceptions of
support.
probably
Yes.
a few particular beer bloggers. I see it absolutely on that more social interaction side. That the blogging side is actually more kind of the selfish side of it, in that I wrote
I
this.
agree with
This
that.
is my opinion.
Yep.
As opposed to the here's what I think, but also what do you think, and kind of soliciting that opinion. So I would sort of say the same, but I would say it's probably more on its downward spiral.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think blogging is a selfish means by which to write and to express your. My blog is for me. It's what I want to write about. It's what I'm interested. Whereas the broader social media are collaborative and social. I mean, it's right there in the name, right?
But when you think about it, I mean, Jeff, you started your blog in what, 2010, 2009?
Something like that. Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if I was legal to drink when you started your blog, to be honest.
Thanks for making me feel old.
Well, you're
was like
not
3
that much
years
older
ago.
than me. But when we started doing these things, it was important. I mean, when I started my blog in 2010, 11, I don't know, whatever year it was a whole different climate than what we have now. So you kind of have to adapt and evolve with it. Like when we first had Untapped, when you wanted to check in your beer, you had to wait 15 minutes to check in your next beer to make sure that you weren't drinking too quickly and driving and all of these. I mean,
That's
it
for
was
the
insane.
OGs.
I like
in
that
the
you were
house.
checking in while driving. That's
I
my
wasn't
favorite thing about that whole
driving.
story.
But when you were at a beer
Yeah,
fest,
no,
it
that's
was
great.
a
That'd be
big
a
badge?
Yes.
I assume that's
Speed
why they
demon
wouldn't
badge.
let me. But you have to evolve with what's happening now. So they don't let you guys. They don't do that anymore. And maybe we don't blog anymore. Maybe we all just share our opinion. I mean, for me, you guys know why I started my site. I wanted women to know about beer. I wanted to talk about beer to other women, and that was the platform that I had and found. So now that I have social media and everybody's there, we just transitioned.
I think the key thing there too is, speaking as someone who never had blogged, I think blogging overall has been changed by Instagram and Snapchat, and that's where you post stuff now.
Yeah.
Where back then Instagram didn't exist, back in 2010.
Oh my gosh,
None of that stuff was there. So I think it's still relevant, but the medium has changed of where you share it.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. We've had a lot of great discussion. We're gonna switch it to the lightning round. We got a lot of questions. A lot of them are really good, but we just are running out of time.
Thank you to everybody. We went over time. We didn't expect this kind of
We didn't expect this kind
enthusiasm
of
for the event,
interaction.
actually.
Yeah, if you sent a question and we didn't get to it, I'm sorry, but there is going to be an after party. So once we're wrapping up here, don't run away. We'll give you some.
Please drink the 717.
there's
It will
an
not
after
fit in my
party.
car,
And
I cannot lift a keg.
look, the struggle is struggling because it's kicked, but the 717.
I will say,
They
you said you didn't expect it to go over, but I'm pretty sure every podcast
Every
has gone
podcast,
over, so
yeah.
you had to have expected this.
Shut up,
If you
Jeff.
listen to this show, you know we always go over. Okay. So
His parting shot before he moves to Ohio.
Some lightning round questions. The second question is going to be related to your untapped check-ins, so you want to open that up before we get to that. But the first question is going to be.
Wait, hold on, Bill. Who the hell got middle of the road level 100? Wow. Who did you?
Did that happen here?
Fuck yes, that is great.
That's my girl spine out, girls.
Welcome to the big board.
When
But
you get
why
a
is there a
badge
level
at the
100
Untapped
for
event.
middle of the road?
There's a level 100 for everything. You
Everything.
gotta level up, Ed.
That's 1,000 beers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That's dedication. Cheers to you.
Congratulations, and I'm glad it happened here. That is very awesome.
Yeah. With the 717.
I like it.
Awesome.
Thank
Did
you
you
very
plan
much.
it that way, or are you just that cool?
You should always
You're
say
just
yes
that
to that
cool.
question.
Can we Instagram this to your mother? So she's like, oh my God. Like,
All right, so everyone on the panel, make sure you got your Untapped open. And if you're in the audience, you're going to want to have it open, too, when we get to this. All right, so first question, favorite macro. We're going to start with T, run down the line, and come back.
My favorite macro is Bourbon County.
oh,
You just
Jesus
took mine.
Christ.
Wow. That is
I thought
burn.
about that all day. I knew you were going to ask
Yeah.
me.
I
thought
Bourbon
it too,
County is
yeah.
my favorite.
Wow.
Well, to be honest, I think Wicked Weed is one of my favorite beers as well, and they're owned by AB now. But I think they make some amazing double IPAs and IPAs. If I wasn't going to take the Goose Island route, that's probably what I would say as well.
Wow. You guys are not playing this.
They're
spicy
definitely
round.
not getting in our
Wanted, but you
fraternity.
weren't getting
That's
what you wanted out of us.
No.
Thank you
No.
for playing this with me.
Jeffrey.
I do what I can.
I'm gonna go with Rolling Rock, and mostly because of college memories. But that
yeah.
also changed when they moved it to New Jersey.
Yeah, it's
so
not the same.
It's not the same beer, but at
It
least
just
it's
tastes
where-
different now. You're like, ooh, Jersey.
Swamp.
David.
Yeah.
My college beer was Keystone Ice because my roommate had a fake ID and was able to get it. And there were 7 of us, and they said, why are you buying 7 12-packs? You can go to the regular beer store and get cases. I was, oh, you're closer to us. But my current one, is my guilty pleasure is Michelob Ultra.
There you go.
I will always be a Miller High Life guy till I die, but Natty Bo, that will be my guilty pleasure.
Those Stros
Thank
and Natty
you.
Bo.
Yes, the guy with one eye. I will always be a Natty Bo guy.
Yeah, I'm a big High Life fan, but I got to second Jeffrey with the Rolling Rock. But I got to say, Ponies. Going to school in Latrobe, Ponies with the Rolling
Did you
Rock.
go to all? I shouldn't say this. All girls school, ponies.
Yeah, oh, please. That's terrible.
Ed, you're
Okay.
fired.
All right.
We're getting fired. No one's getting paid here. No.
Oh, American Life.
Iron
Yes.
City. Iron City. American
Iron
Life, that's the wrong
City.
answer. There you go.
And if you want to know the next question, it's unfortunately he has the answer up on the board here, but everybody want to go through your how many untapped check-ins do you have? And I don't think anybody in this room is going to beat Mr. Jeff.
Total unique check-ins.
Unique, okay.
Unique check-ins. What are your unique check-ins, T?
So Bill, turn
Oh,
around.
you wanna start with me?
5,916 for Jeff.
That's insane.
You know what, Cupco? 3,609.
Wow. All right.
Very nice.
I've been drinking.
So this
Yes.
is the part where everyone says, I only have 1970, and everyone's like, what the hell is wrong with you?
That was actually a question on one of the cards. How do you only have 1900?
And the reason is because if I had drank every beer in the world, there would be an application I have to develop it at some point.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of why my number is lower. People come out at beer festivals and events and like, man, that's really low. Like, do you even use your own app? I'm like, yeah, I do. I got to develop it, though. I mean,
Drink, bro.
Less coding,
I was
more
gonna
drinking.
I was gonna guess that maybe you just checked them all in the developer mode, so they never carried over.
well, that account is way more than everybody. So,
All
For
right.
the podcast, I have 2,918.
Wow.
You're catching up to me. I need to get
Oh,
going.
he's a Weeblo.
Anyone here have more than Jeffrey? No?
Of course
God
not.
doesn't have more than Jeff.
Unbelievable.
cheerio.
Yeah.
Cheerio.
So cheers
Jeff
to
is
Jeff
the
for that
Now,
one.
Greg, what is the most that you know of that's on?
Okay, so we have
Woody
a
has like 10,000.
yeah,
right?
so Woody Chandler. Who knows who Woody Chandler is?
Oh, yeah. He's a local
Everybody knows who
celeb.
he is.
Local celebrity.
I have not met him in person. I've only talked to him online. So I hope that if he's out there, Woody, you always got a space in my heart, Woody.
He's a sweetheart of a man,
He's
a good
too.
guy.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so we have a badge called 10,000, which is the Uber badge, 10,000 uniques. And we have 78 people on Untapped that have achieved that badge. I think including Woody. 78. They have around 5.5 million on the app today, so you can do the math there. That's a very low percentage. But I know that 3 are alive. I don't know about the other 75. So, put it that way.
Woody
We
Chandler.
have a 5,700 here, so that's getting
Tim
close.
Myers.
Very good.
Right.
Tim, 5,700?
So
Alright,
there's your beer goals, everyone. 10,000. If you would like to join this journey with me, it is currently my life goal to hit 10,000 beers. What else do we have to do?
It's not
So-
helping I'm moving to a new city, so every beer will be new.
No, I'm deleting your account.
So
Please
Woody
join
has
me in this journey.
10,765 unique check-ins.
Holy
4,548 badges.
He also fun fact, he has more friends than you on Untapped, which is also amazing.
He actually got
very
1,000
sad.
of those badges last week. That was amazing.
As someone who knows him personally, he drinks beers like every day, and not like a beer.
Well, and
like
and
a
beers that
new
people just
beer,
send him like
5,
to
6,
his
and he
yeah.
was like all the time, constant. So
He
It
just
must be
checked in
nice
a
to be
Mike's Harder
retired.
Cherry Lime, so I don't know. Come on.
All right. Real quick. Gateway beer. What was your gateway beer? Mine was MGD. MGD was my first beer.
First beer ever or first craft beer?
First beer ever.
First
beer.
beer
We're
ever
good.
was
That's the
Coors
next
Light
question.
Yeah, Coors
in
Light for
college.
me.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was your gateway beer? Like, what was the one that got you?
Victory
into
Golden
craft?
Monkey.
There you go.
I didn't
Wow.
even know that beer like that
Strong.
existed.
That's a hell of a gate.
Yeah.
So mine was Rare Voss from Brewing Omegang.
Ooh,
So like that's
good one.
chalk.
Like
that's
that.
a pretty. I mean, drinking like like light lager to that. I mean, that's like a mind blowing experience.
Wow.
To
Yeah.
be able to,
Yeah,
to
not
not know
bad.
that beer could taste that way. That's
Well, first beer would be Old Milwaukee from my dad's fridge,
Ooh.
which was the
Taste
reason
as
why I never
great
wanted
as
to drink
its
beer
name.
ever. But things have changed. But Gateway, in all honesty, I give a lot of credit to Appalachian Brewing Company because
Yeah.
it was a place I went to get good food, and they actually were an early
Yeah.
craft brewer, and so like a mountain lager, things like that. Yeah,
Good
put
choice.
me into craft beer.
My first beer was a warm MGD because I didn't understand that you couldn't drink that when I was 15, so that was not so great. So I didn't like beer for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But the gateway I had was at Zeno's in State College, which is a great place if you go up to State College. They have 80 beers around tap, and I had a Young's Double Chocolate Stout, and I was like, I don't even know what I'm drinking right now, and it just got me into getting the passport and expanding my knowledge.
Yeah, mine was also at Zeno's, Bellhaven Scottish Ale in a pitcher, and it was beautiful. Loved it off Nitro.
My first beer was MGD, like I said, but my gateway to craft beer was Troganator.
Nice.
So, yeah. Everyone loves the Troganator.
Yep.
That's the good shit.
Still one of my favorites.
Yeah. All right. So, first, real quick, I want to thank everyone who came out. T, why don't you say something on behalf of the Beer Week?
So on behalf of Harrisburg Beer Week, I would like to thank you all for coming today. Of course, Harrisburg Beer Week is my baby. I love it so much. I can't believe that we sold this out today. I'm not going to cry.
Thank you, everyone. This has been great. This exceeded expectations like you have no idea.
Because of you guys, we're going to hand over a check for $500 to the Harrisburg River Rescue. Once again, still trying not to cry. Thank you
You're
so much.
crying.
Wow. Hey.
That is fantastic.
That
Thank
really
you,
is.
everybody.
I personally can't believe you guys paid money to come out and listen to us talk.
And actually see us in person. Like,
Yeah.
nobody would be like,
Yeah.
oh, those guys, yeah, good looking. Yeah, no, what a good looking table, like, dudes.
Ed's face for radio.
Shut
He
up,
just
Jo-
came to see me.
He can say that because he's moving away in a week. I don't-
Yeah.
But no, this is phenomenal. We cannot thank everyone enough. I hope everyone, seriously, drink as much of that keg as you possibly
Yes.
can.
And we are going to have a little impromptu after party
Yes.
at the Speakeasy after this, at the Sturgis Speakeasy. So if you don't want to help us kick this, which you should help us kick this, that's
Keg
what our
stands.
plan is. So
Yeah.
Whoever's up latest gets to carry that home. That's all I'm saying. That's,
And thanks, Startup Harrisburg, what a
Yeah.
great venue. It's a great place. It was perfect for this panel. Jeff for coming out before he leaves. Greg for coming all the way from New York City.
Yes, thank
Al
you.
Kominski giving us the beer, and just all for you showing up, friends and family. It warms my heart that I see people that I didn't even know they were coming. So it's awesome. So thank you guys so much for coming out. We really appreciate
Real
it.
quick, we want to thank Stouts and Stilettos. I want to thank Tierney for showing up. She did all the ticketing. To Jeff Kupko, who, if he hadn't written a blog, I wouldn't have written mine. And if I hadn't written a blog, I wouldn't have started a podcast.
Same.
So,
he's
Jeff-
a legend in this area. I know
Yes.
we talked about this on Twitter. If you followed us, he is a legit legend. I am more excited probably than he is sitting next to me. So I'm really excited. I'm gonna ask for his autograph after this.
So-
So.
get a room.
Those words are very kind, guys. Thank you.
And the fact that he is moving in a week to Columbus, Ohio, is just such bullshit. So,
But I am welcoming anybody who wants to come visit anytime.
yeah, it is.
He has
good beer
400
town.
beers in his beer cellar, by the way.
Anyone
so-
who has Enterprise Rent-A-Car points and just wants to burn them, drive to Columbus and
And-
visit Jeff.
Most importantly, thank you to anyone who ever took the time to listen to this podcast. Thank you to anyone who ever took the time to share it with someone else. And thank you all for coming out here. Your $10 that you paid for your ticket and the $500 total all goes to Harrisburg River Rescue. Does real good. So thank you guys. And with that, I'm going to hit stop.
Thank you so much, everybody.